Now, if someone said that, any one of us at the table, we would be accused of racism. Why is it okay for him to say that about Americans?
Because Trump said that.
So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old.
Making the whole crime issue as if it's only black and brown criminals. That is what they say, and that's who's being targeted. That is who's being targeted.
What do you mean by that?
Within the different neighborhoods.
Where's the
Ward
crime?
7, Ward 8. Literally look at that.
The crimes wherever you look. Are you telling me that in white neighborhoods there is no crime that doesn't make people?
Well, first into the wards that had the most
January 6,
violence.
2021.
So you're saying because January 6th happened, we shouldn't catch murderers and carjackers
I'm
today?
not saying that,
That's
but
exactly
I'm saying
what
there
you
wasn't
said.
the same energy that there is right now.
The point is, I don't care what they think. I mean, these are the same people who elected the mayor and city council that ran the city's public safety into the ground in the first place.
You don't care what the residents...
They don't know what's good for them.
You don't care
No,
what the
I don't.
residents of D.C. think?
I do not. I do not care one bit.
Because
Because
they're white, they're not allowed to protest?
No, it's not what he's saying at all.
Well, then why did he say that?
Why is he saying what's
He's having
the
a
point-
good time poking fun at the people who are
I guess I'm just saying. I guess
It's not that big a
listen,
deal.
I'm old.
Hello everybody. Guys, we got the racism Tourette's flaring up again with Scott Jennings. They just can't seem to help it. It's like touching fire. It's a reflex. I'm learning more and more about this mental disorder as I continue my research on these subjects. I'll continue to provide updates on my findings. Let's get into this segment and we'll talk about it.
Tonight's episode, hundreds of National Guard members from all over the country are now stationed all across the city. Troops are watching neighborhoods and military vehicles are patrolling the streets. And today's episode also featured an all-star cast. J.D. Vance, the vice president, Stephen Miller, a top White House aide, and Pete Hegseth, the Department of Defense secretary. They were met with a not so warm welcome by D.C. residents at Union Station.
I heard you, buddy.
The chorus of protesters briefly drowned out their media moment, but they didn't seem fazed by it. They posed for pictures and took the troops out for burgers and had this to say about their fellow Americans.
I think you hear these guys outside here screaming at us. Of course, these are a bunch of crazy protesters.
So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all over 90 years old.
Look at the three MAGA stooges, Baldy, Drunky, and Pudgy. And is Stephen Miller really saying this? Stupid white hippies coming from Fascist Powder, the movie, if you know who Powder is. The white dude superhero. Never mind. It's a pretty old movie.
Now, today's visit illustrates a stark divide between the Trump administration and D.C. residents. As city crime stats show that violence is declining, Trump has said that those numbers are fake. And new polling also now shows roughly 8 in 10 oppose Trump's takeover. But Vance, like his boss, is not believing that data either.
I'm highly skeptical that a majority of D.C. residents don't want their city to have better public safety and more reasonable safety standards within Washington, D.C.
So now it doesn't matter, Scott Jennings, that voters are not happy with what Trump's doing, don't feel safer, all of that.
I don't care what they think. I mean, these are the same people who elected the mayor and city council that ran the city's public safety into the ground in the first place.
You don't care what the residents...
They don't know what's good for them.
You don't care
No,
what the
I don't.
residents of D.C. think.
I do not. I do not care one bit, and I'll tell you something
I feel
else.
like I do remember just a couple weeks ago you were saying, well, secretly D.C. residents really want this because they know the crime is so bad.
I don't know
now
what
we
they
actually
want.
have the
I know what
numbers
they
that
need.
say, will Trump's federal takeover reduce violent crime? 65% say no, just 20% say yes. Do you feel like the presence of federal officers makes you feel safer, more safe, 18%, less safe, 61%?
Why would they say that? They're out arresting criminals. They're arresting illegal aliens. They're getting illegal guns off the streets. An MS-13 illegal alien was taken out off the streets the other night. They're obviously safer, but you know, there's another population that cares about public safety in D.C. It's all the people who visit there. We have people that go there, millions of people from all over the country. They deserve to go to a national capital that's not in disgrace and despair, and that's what they're doing in Washington. So I don't really care about what they think, truthfully.
Let me let Valencia, because
Who does God think he is? Who cares what you think? You are infinitely insignificant. That's the nicest way I can say that. I don't care what the citizens of DC think. These are the people that talk about freedom. They live there, you prick. He doesn't care because they are targeting people he doesn't like. Scott, you visit D.C. when you want to sit on Trump's lap while he plays with your hair and tells you how much of a good boy you are on TV. Good boy. You think the people of D.C. care what you think? You live somewhere in Kentucky. You're just another racist conservative. Who cares what the hell you think? And you see, every time he mentions crime, every time crime is talked about, it's racism, Tourette's flare up. Illegal alien immigrants, Hispanics, MS-13, Mexican cartels, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is, guys, I'm still researching this mental disorder and working on a remedy, a legal one at least.
He actually lives in D.C., well, in the D.C. area, let's put it that way.
Yeah, listen, I live in the DMV area. I am from the area. And listen, you can talk about the numbers that you all have reported on, that crime has come down over the years. And yes, there are people who have felt individual instances. But the bigger issue that a lot of folks are talking about in D.C. is this over-policing of black communities, black and brown communities. And we're seeing this as part of a bigger picture of what the Trump administration is doing across the country. And so it's actually not making people feel safer. There are a lot of people who are staying home, the restaurants are feeling it, and people are really concerned. And so I actually disagree with the statement that people don't know what they need when the city has actually come together and started voting people in office to help bring crime down.
Let's talk about legally. So the Home Rule Act of 1973 gave the president the authority to have rule over the National Guard in D.C. There's also a section in there, Section 740, that allowed him and gave him authority over the police department in D.C. if he declares an emergency. He, in fact, on August 11th, declared an emergency. So legally, he has the ability to do this. So how do we address, everybody wants to be safer and feel safer. How do we address that point, but also address the point that you brought up where certain people are being targeted? I think this is a situation where we have to hope that the people that are deployed there understand that it's on them to make sure that they police fairly, that they treat people fairly, because the general at the top may have an idea of why he wants people to be there, but we have to, in an effort to bring crime down, say these National Guards that are legally deployed there treat people fairly. You're supposed to be there as a deterrent. You shouldn't be making arrests. They don't really have the authority to do that. They don't have the authority to police the streets. That's not what the National Guard does. So stay hands off, act as a deterrent. If the numbers come down, that's better for everybody, if the streets are safer, but do it in a manner that you're not targeting people.
I got to jump in on this, though. I've got 30 years of military service. A lot of that was in the National Guard. I have been activated for civil disturbance before. And the training that the Guard guys get is designed to actually put them on the streets with minimum show of force, use of force. They know what to do and how to do it, and they are fully supervised in what they do. And I feel very confident that the people they're targeting are not of a certain demographic, they're not of a certain skin color. What they're targeting is criminals. No, that's exactly what they are there right now to provide a deterrent. And the police force is absolutely in favor of this. The police union is ecstatic over this. If you look at it, Mayor Bowser herself is really not resisting this. In fact, I think she welcomes it.
But I think, let me ask you a question, because you mentioned your...
Even someone who lives in the proximity the DC resident there, like, these people don't listen to anyone. You guys don't live there. What do you know? Of course it's about going after black and brown people. It's always about that. Always. Racism, again, is foundational, the nucleus of the Republican Party. It's the creme de la creme. The issue is, of course, crime rates will probably come down if you brought in the Army and the Marines. Of course it would. My thing is, at what cost? Not financially, but to people's psyche and overall sense of freedom and safety. How safe do you feel if there's thousands of cops and cop cars and trucks and tanks, whatever the hell they have? The perception of it doesn't look so safe, does it? Like 8 out of 10 of those of DC residents want them to get the F out. Because yes, there is crime, but not enough to justify living like this.
National Guard service. I mean, what you're talking about is a civil disturbance. I think what Trump is suggesting that the National Guard is doing is policing. Those are not the same thing as far as what you just described. Certainly you seem to say, well, you seem to say that they have a hands-off approach. That's different from what policing looks like.
I didn't say hands-off. I said well-trained.
Well, no, they're not trained to police.
They are absolutely trained. In fact, every one of those guardsmen that got there every one of them, no matter what state they came from, every one of them has a pre-deployment training they have to go through, I guarantee you.
Oh, to do what?
To get on the streets and to know exactly how to do crowd control, to know exactly how to do roadside stops, to know exactly how to do augmentation of services for the police force.
Yeah, but these are not,
provide
but
that
there's
for.
no, I mean, I
They're,
guess what
they're
I'm
not
saying is
out
that
there. They're not some hackneyed, jackbooted group out there running streets.
I don't think anybody's suggesting that. I'm just saying we've seen the National Guard being used when there are actual civil disturbances. In 2020, we've seen them at a lot of these moments when there have been mass uprisings or protests, and we've seen them in action there. What's happening in D.C. is that this is a normal city where people are going about their lives every day, and the National Guard troops are. What they're trying to do, have them do what police are supposed to do, which is to proactively police and patrol cities, which is different from what you're talking about.
It's not.
Here are the facts. When you ask the residents that Trump is claiming to help, they say that they oppose it at a 79% rate. 61% of them feel less safe. When you ask them what they care about the most, it's not homicides, it's not carjackings, it's Trump's occupation of D.C. So the question then becomes, who are we helping here? Who are we helping here? The idea that public policy isn't meant to serve the public in D.C. is absolutely absurd when Trump was claiming he was helping the public. So the question that I then want to ask is, why don't we mobilize the National Guard to the 8 out of 10 red states that are the highest homicide states? If this decreases crime, and that's sufficient enough to mobilize the National Guard against the explicit will of the people of D.C., why is the National Guard not marching through the streets?
The law, he was already quoted.
I'm not talking about the law. I'm talking about the explicit
we are talking about the law. But the other thing y'all are doing is misreading the poll. I read the poll. The poll said that 50% of the people who had been polled had seen the security. Of those 50%, 61% said they weren't sure they were happy with it. You boil that down, that means roughly 28% of the whole doesn't like it. 28%.
You asked who is it for?
But I think that the reason that they ask if you have seen it is because they want to ask people who have actually interacted with the issue, as opposed to just people who have no idea that it's happening. So that's one way to kind of get to that. But one thing.
Conservatives, they really don't know how to do math. Although from that smirk, it looks like he knows what he was doing. He was just trying to lie. 50%. So he put a zero allocation on the 50% that didn't see the DC police. He made it seem like the people that didn't see them are for them. Like, this guy is such a moron. Or again, it's not that he's a moron. He knows that conservatives, Republicans are. Again, they're just not the brightest. They hear something like that, they're like, oh, yeah, that sounds like it makes sense. I don't know how you fix stupid.
Because what Adam just said was something that we asked here at the table yesterday. Why not address violence in all these other parts of the country?
Not a Democrat.
Why, I'm not saying that President Trump should do it, but all these red state governors have the ability to mobilize their National Guards within their own states. Why aren't they doing it?
Right now, I don't think they feel the need to. But right
even
now,
though
the Home Rule
violence
Act,
levels are higher in some of those
states
cities
don't
than
have
they
a
are in
Home Rule
DC.
Act, but they do have a governor.
No, but they have a governor and they have a National Guard that's under the control of the government.
We're talking about D.C.
They
right
can
now.
deploy that at any
Their cities have more crime than
the
Washington,
difference
D.C.
between our national capital and every other city.
You're saying that the
No,
National Guard is a
no one's
defeater
saying
of
that.
crime, but then you refuse to endorse the National Guard being put in other states. You're going to say the National Guard is lower
I'm
crime
arguing
rates.
that the national capital, Washington, D.C., exists in a different federal zone, as was pointed out.
Yeah, but
A,
that
and
is
B,
only
and B,
that
it's
is
our
only
national
as it relates
capital.
to
I'm sorry,
Hold
it
on,
is different
Scott.
than Memphis
It
or
is
whatever.
only as it relates to Donald Trump's role in this whole thing. When it comes, the president's, that's what I'm saying. When it comes to the rest of the country, governors have the. I'll let you get it. Governors have the authority to do what Trump is doing, and they are not doing it.
So let me tell you what the difference is.
That's exactly it. Abby's completely right. What's even worse is that if Trump was about crime, cracking down on crime, he has the Republican Party by the balls. He could easily push them to do the same in their states. He's using this, obviously, mainly to distract from the Epstein files. What better way than to over-police black and brown neighborhoods? What better way to give his supporters their favorite pet treat to distract them? I mean, I think this is the same reason why he's going after museums and slavery, this random obsession. Why do you think he's doing that? Like I said, it's the creme de la creme. It's the same crap with these morons each and every time. They have nothing else but bigotry. It always comes back to that one way or another. That's why I focus on that. what someone should bring up each and every time crime is brought up is why doesn't Trump release the Epstein files? Literally, Trump shouldn't come up without the Epstein files being brought up one way or another. It should be a reflex. Corner these idiots. It's not about crime. Who are you fooling? Release the Epstein files.
The difference here is Donald Trump. Donald Trump has decided he wants to do this for show. And that's why my plea isn't to Donald Trump, because he has the authority to do this. There's no way that you can stop him from deploying the National Guard in D.C. because he has the legal ability to do it. It hasn't happened where the National Guard was deployed in many places other than the Detroit riots or when MLK was shot. You know, extreme situations, desegregation of schools. Donald Trump decided to do this. He has the authority. That's why my plea is to those being deployed to say, please do it respectfully and don't target particular people.
I want to make one note. I'm going to play a little bit more of Stephen Miller, and we'll talk about it on the other side. Listen.
Voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. These demonstrators that you've seen out here in recent days, all of these elderly white hippies, they're not part of the city and never have been. And by the way, most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. And President Trump is the one who is fixing that.
These are the alpha men that conservatives talk about. Baldy, drunky, and pudgy. Like, look how embarrassing they look. They just look awkward. What are they doing?
There's a lot going on there, including that I'm not sure when last Stephen Miller talked to the black residents of Washington, D.C., but I also just have to note he's deriding elderly white hippies. Now, if someone said that, any one of us at the table, we would be accused of racism. Why is it okay for him to say that about Americans?
Because Trump set the standard. That's the problem. That's the bottom line. Trump set the standard about how you can talk about people and what you can say, and these people feel it's okay now to voice that.
But just to be clear, he's calling American citizens who we can see them with our eyes ourselves, not elderly. They're DC. They're people from DC. He's calling them crazy, elderly, white hippies. He's said that multiple times. Why is that okay? But if someone else were to say that, you would be accused of being racist by Stephen Miller, frankly.
I'm not sure I'm following your line of thought here. I mean, the fact is some of them are elderly, and some of them are protesting the administration. I mean, I don't.
Because
some are hippies.
and because they're white, they're not allowed to protest.
No, it's not what he's saying at all.
Well, then why did he say that?
Why is he saying what's
he's having a good time poking fun at the people who are
I guess I'm just saying. Listen, I'm old enough to remember baskets of deplorables, okay?
Right.
I cannot imagine that it would be okay for any Democratic politician to say these crazy white Trump. I mean, Republicans.
They say that all the time.
Yeah, but exactly.
and you all have a fit about it. But no one is upset with
you criticize them for it all the time. Why is it okay for him to say that?
I mean, I don't care what they say.
And but
they say it all the time. You're acting like this is.
I would say I appreciate the truthfulness of that you don't care what Stephen Miller says, because at the end of the day, what he is doing.
Oh, he feels so stupid. She cornered him. She cornered him so bad. Because now he has to stick with that. He doesn't want to say that he went against Stephen Miller. He knows he's going to get a spanking from Trump for that. That's hilarious, but he has no way of defending it. You can see that face.
Is something that if on the other side of the aisle was said about your voters, MAGA voters, you would be up in arms about it.
MAGA voters. Okay, so MAGA voters. I tell you, the
not to describe you as a MAGA voter, but I'm saying your side of that.
On the basket of the
they call us Nazis.
We actually embrace the deplorable.
Pendejo, why do you think that is, you moron? You guys were literally doing the Nazi salute. Eyeliner Vance called Trump America's Hitler. Like, someone should have this on the ready. You people were chanting on the streets, Jews will not replace us. Is this making any sense now as to why your party's called Nazis? Diablo. Scott Jennings was defending Elon Musk. And he got cornered and he refused to do the Nazi salute after defending it, saying, oh, it wasn't it. And someone told him on the panel, I forgot her name, Rampell. I forgot her first name. Completely cornered him, and he would not do it because he knows it was a Nazi salute. He's such a coward.
We made hats out of it. Y'all are welcome to make a white hippie hat if you want to and embrace it, but I doubt you won't because the left is constantly getting offended.
Okay.
And this is a nothing burden.
Last point, Alessia, and I'm curious about your view of this. Look, it's common in politics to talk about black voters without ever talking to black voters, and this seems very much to be an example of that. Because they're the ones who are actually on the receiving end. I've seen the videos too in black neighborhoods in DC on the receiving end of this heavy policing.
I mean, it's a savior complex, and it's also these white people who actually don't go and talk to black voters and see exactly, or black populations and see exactly what they need. Because I quite frankly believe that communities know the solutions to help themselves out of whatever situation it is. Donald Trump, Stephen Miller have some of the most racist policies ever. And for them to talk about that these policies or bringing the National Guard is to actually make it safer for black communities is actually insulting, because what I know from the black communities that I am part of, that I know people who are native DCs for generations, this is doing nothing but causing even more fear and removing their agency from a city that quite frankly has always prided itself of the diversity and used to call itself Chocolate City.
Let me give Phil. I know Phil wants to respond.
I just wonder if you've seen the level of integration in his administration. I mean, this is not an all-white administration weighing down on the oppressed. This is not that at all.
It's not as diverse as many other administrations.
I take that issue with that.
He's not a savior, but we also
So diverse. Oh yeah, where's Byron Donalds and Tim Scott? All that bootlicking for nada.
do have to acknowledge, and your point is 100% correct. However, if crime can go down, we should be willing to accept that. We have to figure out how to blend those two. If they're going to be there, let's make the most of it.
But we can't make the whole crime. They're making the whole crime issue as if it's only black and brown criminals. That is what they have said, and that is that's who's being targeted. That is who's being targeted.
What do you mean by that?
Look at
the neighborhoods.
Where's the
Ward
crime?
7, Ward 8. Literally look at that.
The crime is wherever you look for it. Are you telling me that in white neighborhoods there is no crime that doesn't make
Well, first of all, there are crimes all over the city.
Absolutely.
But there was an allegation that they weren't even going to look into the wards that had the most violence.
2021.
So you're saying because January 6th happened, we shouldn't catch murderers and carjackers
I'm
today?
not saying that,
That's
but
exactly
I'm saying
what
there
you
wasn't
just
the same energy that there is right now.
The point is, they're looking at crime, whoever and wherever it is.
No, they're targeting black and brown
You have
people.
no evidence.
We got to leave this conversation there. By the way, I just want to.
That's exactly it. Trump has only targeted black mayors. Like, and Stephen Miller, I was just thinking about this. The little ball creep. He's just mad that white people, his own kind, are fighting for black and brown people. Or at least that's how he perceives it. Right? When he called them whatever, stupid white hippies. They're literally trying to just push back on over-policing and fascism. But when you're a bigot, the world is very black and white in a literal sense. Right? I don't think these quote-unquote stupid white hippies are really fighting for black and brown neighborhoods per se. They're fighting back over the over-policing, the fascism. Again, and why else would Stephen Miller have mentioned that they're white? He knows who they're targeting, and he's pissed that these are white people, as he perceives it, defending black and brown people. And Scott Jennings, who he knows who they are targeting, and it's why he got so triggered there at the end. Racists hate having their masks revealed. They hate it. We all know this isn't about crime. It's about Trump's move to being a fascist leader. All the signs are there. 30-year low in crime rates for DC. Not even in the top 10 of most dangerous cities in the country, but yet it's a #1 focus. Nothing strange to see here, Scott. Like each day, I think we are seeing more and more why black and brown people need to stick together. And this is a message mainly to Hispanics, who almost half of them voted for Republicans or Trump. I've been saying this for months. They see us all the damn same, as less than those that should be controlled and monitored. But you keep voting Republican, maybe they will see you as equals one day and don't stick you in alligator Alcatraz and feed you to alligators. Effing morons. I'm going to leave it there, guys. Let me know what you think about all this in the comments. Please leave a like, subscribe. Really helps the channel, really helps get the message out there. And I'll catch you in the next one.